First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today for our cap of the Mind, Body, and Soul event that was hosted by Vonda Ministries on July 22nd, 2023. The Mind, Body, and Soul event was birthed out of the need to address the current needs of women on all levels by providing education, instruction on women's health, mental health, fitness, nutrition, as well as speaking to their souls, health, and their well-being. Also today, we have a few of the attendants who will be present in the event or for the event who were there on that particular day. So I'd like to welcome some of our guests who were there. We'd like to welcome first Minister Vonda Dennis here. Hi. Tanette Siblis, Tanette Torrey. Dr. Rhonda Harden, who was talking about menopause and life balance. Also, we have Tony Lewis, who was the nutritionist speaker for the event that day. Cherie Bradsford, who's down there.
Our event coordinator.
Event coordinator, yes, absolutely. Robert Clyte, who was also one of our attendees. Michelle Thomas was there as one of our guests. And Jeremiah Clyte, who's not on camera, but he's right behind everybody, so you might be able to grab him at some point today. So I'll be your host today, and my name is Natasha Dennis. So looking back on the event, and all of us were there, so we're going to be covering some things that weren't seen, and some of our guests didn't actually know what happened, so we're going to be speaking about that and some of the things that our guests did see. But the event took place on July 22nd, 2023, which was an awesome event in and of itself. We'd like to set the stage and paint a picture here to Day and some of the things that were not caught on camera because there were lots of videos and pictures that were taken on that day. But these things leading up to the event that people didn't know about. And if you know, these things happen behind the scenes, and we're going to show you a little glimpse and talk about the things that happened and how God showed up in such a powerful way on that day, on that moment, to let everyone know that He had placed favor and anointing on this event. So our guests today will be sharing their real life testimonies of what they experienced for the Mind, Body, and Soul event. Thank you all for joining us. And for everyone else who's watching, stay tuned. This is our first event that we'll be having, and we will be having more as far as our broadcast. We're going to start off with our first person, who is the founder of the Vonda Ministries. Ministries, actually. And she's going to speak to you about what she experienced and tell you some things that happened and actually what her ministries is about.
Vonda Ministries is an empowerment ministries for women, primarily. However, in the last couple of months or so, I have noticed that God is seeing me to be moving the ministry in various ways. With regards to what He wants to have happen with this ministry. So there's a lot of different platforms that we are going to be moving towards in Vonda Ministries. This particular ministry and this particular day was Heart, Mind, and Soul, which was given to me about a year ago. And I thought I was going to be able to bring it to pass then, and He said not so. So we went on, we worked with it, we found the different people that He had and that He wanted, because He wanted me to address things that are going on with women. So some of those things were dealing with women's health, the things that happen with them. You know, my group primarily exists for 30 women 30 and above. We have started moving towards some of the younger people, but our gender audience is women, and then the age group is usually somewhere between 30 and above. So with that being said, some of us are dealing with menopause at that point, premenopausal, so on and so forth. So those are some of the things we address, things that happen to the body as we become older. The other thing that he really impressed upon me was dealing with mental health issues. And so he was letting me know that women, we were dealing with a lot. We wear these superwomen capes, but there's so much going on behind the scenes in our lives that he really wanted to help us understand that we needed to address all of our levels, our mind, our body, and our soul, in order to be complete. So we brought on a therapist. She's not here today, but we were able to bring on Miracle, and she spoke a lot about the different things we would do with how to handle our mental health, how to self-care, and so on and so forth. Also, we needed to understand the nutritional parts of our how to eat properly, how to exercise as we get older. These things also help release endorphins, bring happiness, so on and so forth, and just keeping ourselves balanced. And then as far as myself, I was dealing with the soul issues and what God is saying about how we feed and nourish our soul. So these are the things that the event was created for. And this is our first annual. In the interim of that situation and dealing with that and developing that, God brought about quite a few things were going on. So the backstory to this is apparently forces from another realm were not happy about what was going to go forth. So I battled on so many fronts just trying to get this off the ground. I had people, I lost people, I thought I had speakers before that were locked in, and then these things happened and they weren't able to make it, or there were scheduling conflicts. So with that being said, we kept moving and we kept moving, and then I wasn't getting the numbers that I wanted. And finally I got into a point where I went into depression. And God spoke to me and I said, I'm going to cancel this event. And he said, you will not. You will move forward. And I'm like, I don't know how we're going to get this done. He said, well, how do you think you're going to get it done? The same way you're going to get it done before, by my might and by my power. So he told me to continue on, go on, but I hadn't expressed this to anyone. I basically suffered in silence on this. I took it before the Lord, I laid it at the altar, I picked it up, I took it back and put it in my purse, and then I got it again, I put it back at the altar, then I got it up, I picked it up, and I put it in my lunch pail. So he was like, would you please hand this over to me? So there was a particular event, and I said, yeah, I'm gonna move forward, we'll see how this goes. And I just kept pushing, and I was getting closer and closer to the date of the event, and I did not have the numbers that I was looking for. And he said, continue. So I went to church, and I was in this particular church called the City of God, and there was a prophet there by the name of Pastor or Prophet John Brown. And then so he called me out and he said, woman of God, I'm hearing for you. Go ahead with your conference. God is saying, move forward with your conference. Now, we had not discussed this. He knew nothing about what was happening with me. I had made no mention to him of anything that was going on in my personal life or in the life of this ministry. And he said, God is saying, move forward with your event. He has you. He's going to do something for you, and you will not have to pay for this event. He's going to cover this event from the top to the parking lot. And I'm thinking, okay, that's fine. Don't know how he's going to do that. No, I don't know why I ever questioned God, because, again, I've seen so many supernatural events in my life. But nonetheless, we have our moments, and I'm human. So I thought, okay, how exactly is that going to happen? So I'm thinking in my mind, and he said, I see a hand writing on a check. And he actually did the he actually did the actual instrument of using a pen and put it into a check. And he said, you're not going to have to pay for this event. So I said, okay. So that was about 5 weeks prior to the actual event. And so we moved forward in trying to get the numbers and do the different things. And then at one point I expressed it to one person who was my event planner, because she was helping me, just to kind of see what was going on. That Cherie Bransford, who's on the end down there. And she kind of said to me, you got this. Let's go. Don't you dare back out. We got this. So I kept moving, I kept praying, I kept going, I kept fighting. And we were getting closer and closer, and then these very supernatural events began to show up.
Well, let me stop you really quick, Sister Vonda. So about how many times before the event actually took place, or the due date was coming, that you planned to cancel?
Oh, this was about, it was in July, so I think I sent out the first announcement in April. And between May and June, I did heavy warfare. I was in heavy battle with depression and with fighting with the forces that did not want this to go forth. And I didn't quite understand why. I guess there was a part of me that did, and there was a part of me that didn't. So I kind of battled between Vonda and Minister Vonda at one point. And Vonda was saying, don't do it. And Minister Vonda, who knows God quite well, said, move forward, because that's what God told you to do, and obedience is better than sacrifice. So I said, okay. So I went forth, I did whatever, and then these attacks began to come. So there was a particular event, which she'll speak about it, I'm sure, in depth, where my sibling, prophetess Tanette Torre, was actually attacked about 3 days before the event. She sent a message to me and said, I need you to pray because I can't walk.
I couldn't walk.
And so with that being said, I was like, okay, so I prayed. She had to go into the hospital, and there were various things going forth. That Friday, I was attacked in my body, which I will talk about a little bit later. And just various things were kept going on. We went to the hotel, and there were things that they were telling us they could do that just weren't, it just wasn't gelling. We were battling on all fronts. And so I said, Lord, this is in your hands. And so I will let some of them talk, and then I will revisit and share the rest of my story towards the end.
So, Dr. Rhonda Hardy, were you a guest at that event on July 23rd, or were you one of the speakers that was programmed to speak for that day?
Yes, I was actually programmed or speaking that day, but as you know, and you'll hear later how things kind of transpired, we all had multiple roles during this event.
And for the beginning, when you were coming, what was your topic and what were you going to speak about?
So my topic was menopause and life balance, something that many of the participants that came were dealing with, so I thought it was a good topic to kind of express on. Because knowledge is power, so I just kind of wanted to share that information.
Right. Okay. And then after you got there, you were ready, you were all set up and ready to do your thing for that day. And what did you run into when you arrived there that morning?
So I'm a person of nature where I come everywhere early because I want to be prepared. So I set up my my PowerPoint, everything was good. I checked my clicker, everything was wonderful. And so when it was time to get up to speak, none of those things were working. And it was odd to me because we got there so early, like, oh, this is great, we're all set. I couldn't get the connector to work, my battery died on my handheld, and then I also helped prepare the other lady I was speaking about massages. Her audio stuff went wrong too, and we had set that up as early as well too. So it was just all of a sudden things just started, falling apart. So what got me, because before I even got up to speak, I got really emotional, right? Because I was all ready, and I said, my gosh, all of the things that occurred prior to this, and it's like, but I love the fact that how everybody just took their place and started moving to make things work, right? So it was really a team effort. Without even saying anything, we all had a role, and we just stepped into it, whether it needed to be or not, right? So we were there.
Cherie, when you were in there getting everything ready and setting up and time was of the essence, what did you hear? How did that start? Who came to you?
Okay. Well, first of all, even going back to being the event, most of the time the event planner is the one that is normally first to arrive. So you see the room, how it's set up, how the crew has set it up. So one thing that hasn't been mentioned is even going into the room when I got there, and Brother Robert can attest to this. I walked in and it was like it was a hot summer day inside the room. It was very warm. It was. I wasn't used to being uncomfortable when you go into an event space and you don't feel the air conditioner on.
Okay, so no air conditioner.
So it was really warm. And I know at that time, I think we were getting abnormal heat in Southern California, but I know with central air and heat, that doesn't matter what it feels like outside. So inside, I should come into a comfortable space.
Exactly.
And sometimes as an event coordinator, when you walk into a space, that kind of takes even your heat level, and you're not comfortable in what you have to do. So that was one of the, I don't like to use the word problem, one of the small challenges going in first. So we did get, I called the gentleman in, and this is when nobody had arrived but myself. And I didn't at that moment, I don't believe in calling the head person with any challenge because you want the event to be a success. So my thing was, let me ask one of the workers. So the gentleman that let me into the room, I called on him and I asked him, is there any way, it's kind of warm in here, you know, you just don't want to make it seem like you bring in the raw. But I mentioned to him that it was uncomfortable, and we're also going to have more people to come in, and bodies bring more heat.
Exactly.
So he said that he would work with that. I kept working, you know, every minute counts when you're setting up.
Yes.
So time went on, and Brother Minister Robert came in, he and his son, to ask security to help. He also noticed how warm it was in the place. So at that moment, he again went to the gentleman, and, you know, man to man, he can get it done, get us some air, more air going. So he did that. After so long, some minutes had passed, and it did start to feel a little cooler and more comfortable in the room. That's setting the atmosphere. So as time went on, and I think of maybe about an hour had passed, an hour and a half, which it's getting closer to time to start. We were about, I would say, about a good 90% finished with setup. The vendors were arriving, those speaking, and a gentleman, one of the workers from sidebar, this has never happened before to me, the event coordinator that I am, and I do quite a few events. The gentleman came in and said, we have to leave. They're shutting down the building.
And was this one of the workers from the hotel?
Yes, it was one of the workers from the hotel. At that moment, whenever you come with something negative in my profession and how I am, my work ethic, I always go into survival mode. How we do not have to, this is still going to be a successful event. How can we still make it happen, basically? We got this. So I thought, and I asked him right off the bat, I'm concerned about what they're going through, but first and foremost, I'm concerned about the event that I'm helping with. So I asked the gentleman, does everybody have to leave? Do we have to automatically, you know, you're thinking, I am not bringing no challenge to Vonda at this point. Not to mention, sidebar, I had heard some of the times that she had felt to cancel the event or just challenge after challenge. You know, you can get discouraged at that moment. And I've also been taught there's a time and a place to bring a challenge to someone, especially when they are this was a spiritual event. And you want to make sure that we're in the same mind. We don't want to be in a negative space. So as an event coordinator also, that is one thing that I take on. I take on the burden of as you would say, the burden of whatever challenge it is, bring it to me. I got it. We okay. You just worry about this being a success. So to cut a long story short, I asked him, I said, do we have to leave? Like, what's going to happen? He did say that they're shutting, the health department was there. They had inspected the kitchen, and they saw that they had to shut the kitchen down. Mind you, that's where the food was coming for the event.
Yep.
So now I'm like, okay, we don't have no food. We won't have no food. Okay, you automatically, you don't want to complete. What I don't do is I don't want to take over an event, but you do get in your mind because you're always ready. They tell you when you're doing an event, you always be ready for the challenge, because you'll be okay at that point in anything. If you're ready and you have the challenge covered, the success, the positives is going to be even greater. So I'm like, okay, we won't have no food. What are we going to do? At that moment, I'm thinking to drive. A friend of mine had flew in from Vegas to come to the event. I'm thinking, Marshonda will have to drive. We're going to have to get some food. We have to do what we have to do to make sure this event is still a success. And one thing I said, only thing I had to hear was, we didn't have to vacate. He said only the workers, they were shutting the kitchen down. The other guests that weren't involved, they didn't have to check out, and our event was still going to go on. We just weren't going to have any food. So at that moment, I'm not going to stop what I'm doing. We're going to finish this setup. And if anything, the sheriff or the health inspector would actually have to come into the room and say, you guys have to stop. And that had not happened. So as long as that doesn't happen, we can't stop because somebody else is stopping. You have to keep going, and you have to persevere through this challenge. We're going to be okay. So I didn't stop working. You always have those that are like, oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? But you have to learn to breathe and know that it's going to be okay.
So after you heard that, and was he telling you this, or?
Well, I had asked him because I think this is not to say that I was a major contact or in charge of anything, but there is a time if you're the first one that arrives and you're the event that I'm normally a lot of times I'm put in that position because I'm the first one that they see.
Okay.
So they know that I can get with the head person,
Right.
or I can make some type of decision possibly.
Okay.
So what did happen was I asked him, did we have to leave? Because I also have to think about the job that I'm there to do.
And you had set up?
I had set up, like I said, it was about 90% set up, done.
Wow.
I think at that point, it may have been a few guests had even started to arrive. So you have to kind of be able to multitask at all times too. You got to be able to, what do they say? What's that? On your toes. You have to always be on your toes and ready for whatever comes.
Okay.
So I did ask him, were we going to have to leave? He did say that we weren't going to have to leave, we just weren't going to have any food.
Okay. Which the event involved food, correct?
Excuse me?
The event did involve food.
Yes,
right?
yes. You have to also remember, you had,
Yes.
that's what all these guests, not only are they getting, are they going to be
Spiritually fed,
but they also gonna get some food too.
Exactly.
I mean, I go to events too, like, I want to
You
eat.
wanna eat.
I'm sitting there for some hours.
Yeah,
They're gonna
of
feed
course.
us something, and as
Yes.
you all know, all the ladies on the panel, as well as watching, that anything that Vonda Dennis put on, we're gonna eat good. So that's one thing that you always know, knowing Minister Vonda and knowing her level of expertise and the quality of her events, you don't want, they're bringing, this is going to be something that could be like, oh my goodness, Lord, what we going to do? But we was going to be okay. And I think in sometimes subliminally, people don't understand that especially when you're not a spiritual person, there are some things that you automatically think and you automatically respond, and it might not be you, it may be God responding in, we're gonna be okay, keep going. Sometimes in some events, some people might be like, some people only worried about the dollar that they're getting paid. And they're like, well, I'm gonna stop.
Right. Well, at what point after you heard this did you contact Minister Vonda?
I wanna say, first of all, I don't like to make calls in a drastic uproar. So I get all my, all my bearings and all my information that I can, because I know putting myself in a lead position over hosting something, there's certain questions I'm going to ask, and I don't want that person that's bringing something to me to have I don't know that.
Right.
You know, so at the end of the day, I knew, okay, if I'm going to come and I'm going to tell Vonda something that most people will look at as a negative, I'm going to have a positive to also come with that and let her see that we okay, we got it, we here, everybody that's helping, we okay, so that she could even breathe and stay in the mind frame that God wanted her to be in at that point.
What were your feelings about hearing them come with that type of information?
First of all, I want to say Cherie was handling everything well, and myself and my son, I want to say this about Minister Vonda, Ms. V. I want to thank her ahead of time because this is a ladies' event, but she's given me an opportunity to serve her in this event on a couple of occasions. So it's a ladies' event, but I gained a lot out of this. As a member of a church and being raised up in Christ, I go expecting something good. I always have an expectation of God bringing a word, something of encouragement, no matter what the platform is, because it's spiritually based. And upon hearing Cherie getting told this news about there's not going to be an event, basically, because I was studying working with my son, and I started hearing Cherie says, let's keep working, let's keep going. And what that told me within my spirit is that faith, God is in this situation. So we moved in a fashion of faith that we was told one thing, but God has a final say so.
Okay.
So we continue
Amen.
to work and we continue to do what was asked of us. And I saw Ms. Vonda come down and her and Cherie having a conversation far off.
Okay.
And y'all know Ms. Vonda. She had this little smile and this laugh that she has. And this is a laugh like in the midst of something. She's like, oh wow, she had this look like, you know what? Okay. And she had that laugh and I said, Lord, you know, this is going to be good. So as things kept going, progressing, and I just noticed that everyone had this vibe of that it's going to be all right. And that's the faith walk that I seen of this event.
And you didn't see anyone panic between the three of you down there? No
It
panic.
was as if nothing was said from the very start. And for me personally, being in amongst a room full of spiritual women, God-fearing women, it was a blessing to me and my son. Because I was raised as a child with a single parent, a mother. And I saw strong women, not in the sense of course, not physical, but spiritually strong,
Right.
as I've seen all my life. And knowing Miss Vonda and her group of ladies that she rolls with, per se. I was very much inspired. I was honored to be there because I am a servant, first and foremost. And anytime I get an opportunity to serve Mrs. Vonda and the ladies that she worked with, I want to be there. I want to be a part of because it's a good thing. And as we all being servants, it was one of the best things that I've seen. And I've seen God's hand directly in the middle of that which the devil did not want to come to pass.
Exactly. Brother Robert, after you saw everything and it went through and the program was done, how did you feel about it after it was over?
I felt really good because there were other men that were there, a couple others. They was moved by what was going on in the atmosphere, and they was able to share things about themselves and what they were going through, and they have gotten a solution to what they were going through because of the panel.
So there was a part where the men were able to speak on particular questions
Yes, ma'am.
and answers that were asked of these guest speakers.
Yes, ma'am.
Great,
And
okay.
being that I knew the man, the one gentleman, it was, you never know what a person's going through,
Right,
but he had got an answer.
okay.
And that right there, that was just a blessing to me. Because we men, we also suffer and go through a lot of things. And
Of
our
course.
pride and ego will not allow us to speak about it. But in that atmosphere that Miss Vonda had, I guess that male exterior melted
Right.
away, and he was able to be humble and
And they
was
felt
able
comfortable speaking
Come
in
on,
front of
yes.
the women, a room full of
in
full
front of women. And that is because it was like I said earlier, being raised, having a single parent mother, we look at women as you guys are so phenomenal, and you guys are the go-to when it's men just don't really talk amongst men. But I was blessed for it all.
I'm going to move on to civilist Tinette Torre. And Tinette, you were at the event, and I understand, I believe you actually stayed at the hotel that evening to
Yes.
help out with things in the morning as well, right along with Cherie Bransford. So we were all there so we could get a jump on things for the morning. So Tinette, how did you feel, or what happened? How did you get the news, and where did you go from there? Where did you go from there?
I'm going to start from, I'm going to say this. I'm going to start from that week before the event.
Okay.
Before that Saturday.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I was one that called her on Thursday because I was part of the prayer. I had to do the opening prayer. But I called her on Thursday to tell her I couldn't walk. All of a sudden, my knee went out, and I could not walk. No, it was my ankle, I'm sorry. And I couldn't walk. So I called her. I didn't know whether to tell her or not that I couldn't walk. But my mind was, well, they was gonna have to roll me in, and just pass me the mic because I'm still gonna go. I'm gonna make this event.
Okay,
So we've been talking about this event for a long time.
Right.
But when I called her, she prayed, and I went to the hospital. I could walk.
So you
I
went to
was
the
able
hospital.
later on. I went to the hospital. I had called my job and said, I'm gonna come in now. I could walk now. They probably thought I was lying because earlier I just said I couldn't walk. And then all of a sudden now I can walk. But see, they don't understand the power of prayer.
Yes. 'cause that wasn't a-
That helped me.
Mhm.
But and the funny thing is that I do want to mention, Vonda is an on-time person.
Yes.
And I always said was this is gonna be on time. People's gonna be there because I'm gonna start without them. We're gonna do everything this and we're gonna do that and we're gonna do that and this is how it's gonna go.
In your
All
mind.
right, that's
In your mind.
that's what she
Yeah.
said.
Oh, that's what she said.
That's what
Okay.
she said.
This is what she
This was a
kept
conversation
pounding in.
me and
Okay.
her had.
Mhm.
That everything was going to be on time. We're going to start at 10 and so on and so on. We get there the night before Friday. I got there late. They were already there. 8. She came and got me. We stayed in the room. Now here's the juicy part. Okay. We get up. Everything is fine, right? She leaves the room. And me and Natasha in the room, just and I told them that I'm just gonna do this little cute little prayer, and I'm not gonna do one of them long hallelujah prayers. I'm just ooh, everything is perfect, perfect, perfect. That was I told them
Yes.
I'm not gonna do this big prayer, And she left the room. She comes back into the room. She was so calm.
Right. 'Cause
She
left the
said
room. She
she
had to
was
run
smiling.
an errand or something.
Yeah,
that
she
morning.
was
Okay.
smiling.
Uh-huh.
She came and said, okay, everyone, telling me and Natasha, all right, there's a problem. And we were like, what's the problem? She said, it's still smiling. There's a problem. There is not going to be any food. She said, oh, they shut down the kitchen. They shut down the kitchen and there's not going to be any food. Now, I don't know about everybody else being calm. I was the one pulling my hair. Sorry, I wasn't calm. I wasn't calm like everybody else said they were calm. No, I wasn't calm. Sorry. She said no food, and I was one of the ones ready to eat too. And I had guests come in, and that was part of the event. And I did brag about her saying when she gives an event, she does have good food. Now I'm here, we're not gonna have no food, you know. And I didn't want her to see my panic side, and I really was trying to control it. You know, I even mentioned to her when I was upstairs, she was just saying, "Did you see how calm she was?" And we couldn't believe how calm. If it was my event, you tell me there's no food, I'd be like, "Oh my God, Jesus!" we would all be on our knees.
It's over.
It would be all praying, but she just took it easy. And at that point, I decided that's when I went upstairs to go see what was going on, and it was such a beautiful thing to see. A lot of us jump in to try to help with her last 10% of decorating. We had to come in and help with the chairs a little bit, and then Natasha, we were trying to figure out what are these people gonna eat? They gotta eat. So we got on the I got on the phone, and I remember trying to see if we can find an Uber or something. Somebody could bring us some food, some donuts, something, some bagels and cheese, or give us something to munch on. But where I was calling, they couldn't do it that fast. They was telling us no, and I walked away. Here's the funny thing though, Natasha, she was helping. We were helping with the last minute of the decoration. Natasha disappeared. You know, and I was like, how's she gonna leave us when she see us out here trying to get this together? She just left. She gonna leave, and we're still trying to fix the inside. You know, and she left. But then when I found her, this chick was working. She was on the phone getting the food together. She's like, all right, how many sandwiches you gonna get? How many? She took over the sandwich part, the food part, and she was working this thing. And to see everybody was working, this one was doing this one was doing that. Everybody was bringing this event together. She had disappeared again while we was up there, another busy bees. She was taking care of another situation that had happened.
Minister Vonda.
Yeah, Minister Vonda taking care of another another problem that happened downstairs. But upstairs we were like busy bees. Everybody jumped in. Guests was coming in. They didn't even have a clue what was going on. And at that time, when I seen her doing the sandwiches, the Lord was speaking to me. You know that little cute prayer you was talking about? We got to go into warfare now. I dismissed myself, went back to the room, and I said, Lord, it was almost like, forgive me. I was trying to tell you I was going to do this, a little cute prayer, look out the window, see the beautiful view, and but he said, go into complete warfare. And at the beginning, when we prayed, all I could see was that I was just mad. I was really mad at the devil who tried to come into an event that we've been talking about for a while, and it's the first event, and this is the first event, and this happened. But at the end of the event, I see it would all work together for a reason, and it was because of that prophecy that Brown said about the check and free. But she'll get into that. We'll get into that. But that's my view. I was crying and oh Lord, throw me the oil. I'm passing out. No, but anyhow, that was my experience.
Sister Michelle Thomas, what was your take on arriving, and what did you see when you got there? Because I think you didn't really at the time know what was going on when you arrived.
No, I didn't know what was going on, but I knew something was happening because Minister Vonda was not fully dressed, and she normally would have been fully dressed to start the event off. So, but she was very calm, kind of like, hi, hi, and she moved on and did something else, and then I hadn't seen so many people in such a long time. Because we all went to church together growing up. So that was, for me, it was a hug fest. And I think Dr. Rhonda was the first person I saw. And she was just like, how you doing? Oh, I haven't seen you forever. Oh, and it
so
was
you're not picking up on anything that's going on behind the scenes?
I just thought it was the run of the mill, everybody pitching in, everybody helping, and it just was so smooth that I didn't know anything was wrong, other than her outfit.
Yes.
And so then I went around the room talking to everybody, and we were in like a waiting room while the other room was getting ready. Right. And so I was just still chatting, and then we moved into the other room, and I still didn't know what was going on until later on, because everybody pitched in seamlessly, and that was just a beautiful thing. And on top of seeing everybody I hadn't seen in a long time, and things just going so quote unquote smoothly, I didn't know anything till almost the end, or till she actually announced, what happened, and then the other food arrived, and so much of it. Oh my God!
It was so much.
It was a lot of
I want
food.
to make sure everyone eats. So
Yeah,
I
oh,
ordered
honey.
everything I could think
We
of.
could have ate for a year. Yeah, but that was the biggest thing I saw, was everybody pitching in together. And if that would have been something outside of the event, if we could treat one another like that and be supportive of each other like that in not real world because we're in the real world, but in things outside of this event, everyday life, so we had that support, that love, that jumping right in, and I got you, don't worry.
Yes.
So many people need that.
Yeah.
And it was so good to see that, and it was like, well, Lord Jesus, we have hope,
It could be done.
Yeah, it can be done if we just.
It turned out to really be just a wonderful day. I left there with something. I mean, even though being a speaker, I felt like I received something.
Yes, because there were other speakers
There were
there as
other
well,
speakers,
right?
and there was
Different
and
topics.
even just to hear people share their stories and the things that they had been through. At the end of the day, we all have a story, and we all struggle with things, and so it's so important, like my sister has said, just to pull together. If we could do what we did to come together that day to make sure that event was successful, why can't we do that in our everyday lives when our brothers and sisters are struggling? So it was all clear to me why the enemy tried to stop it, because, and I do believe this is just the beginning of many more great events to happen.
Yes.
And so if the enemy could stop the first one, I could stop the rest of them. But he couldn't stop the first one.
Right.
So now the door is open, the floodgates are open, and God is going to have his way. And I just believe this thing is going to grow, and people's lives are going to be changed because of that one event that we've already had.
Sister Dominique Terrell, what happened when you walked in? What did you feel, or what did you see?
When I first walked in, so I took a different, place. When I walked in, I can tell the frustration on the attendee, who's my aunt. I could tell that a warfare was going on, that something was happening, but God was in control of the whole thing. So that's what I felt. So I immediately, when I walked out the elevator, I immediately asked, "Is everything okay?" Because I can feel it, the heaviness. And she just hugged me and she said, "No, but it is." And I'm like, "Yes, God is, in control." And we sat there and just, got a chance to mingle with everybody else that was there, before the event actually started. And then actually when it did, you wouldn't even know nothing, was going wrong, or you would had no clue that nothing happened, because I believe it went exactly the way it was supposed to go. Regardless of the, how the enemy tried his best to try to interfere, he did not win. He did not get the victory at all. Information was given to women. I've learned things about my health and my body and my mind that I had no clue about, in regards to, menopause. I haven't reached that stage yet, but at least I know what to prepare for now. I know what to get ready for, because, being a child of God, it's so much more, mind, body, and soul. That all takes, a factor, not always, we learn from the church, we learn from everything, from, the health professional she had there, from the nurse professional she had there, massage therapist that she had there, and so many women that she had there that had so much knowledge, to share, with each and every one of us. I've learned about, certain products I can take, like black seed, that I knew nothing about, that's helpful. And just, about, my thing's been struggling with weight, going in and out, or gaining and losing, and she had a nutritionist there, that shared some things, which, it was interesting, because we're so caught up on, I gotta eat this, gotta eat that, and it gets stressful, when you're trying to lose. So, the information that she gave, for us to just, be able to monitor, journal, and just move every day, and each and every one, they were funny. each presenter were, they had a sense of humor. Yeah. So it wasn't like you're sitting there all day bored just listening. It was fun, and just sitting in the table, got to meet women that I've never met before, and I don't know if anyone noticed or paid attention at my table. There was these pens that we were given at the event, and each pen had a saying on them. But I don't know if everyone paid attention. That saying, and I know that was ordained, it had to be by God, because each one of those sayings has something to do with what that person was going through. Because I personally asked, I was like, did you guys read your pens? I went around the table and asked, I was like, you guys noticed that all our pens say something different? Okay. And everybody read their pen. They're like, oh my gosh, like, wow. Like it ministered to them, like this pen. So it's like everything was strategically done, in a way. So, exactly.
When it was over, what did you get out of it? How did you feel when everything was over?
Everything was over. I felt encouraged. I felt motivated. I felt inspired, to, be better, pay attention to my mind, pay attention to my body and my soul. Just pay attention, to, what I'm doing, the temple. Because my temple it's important. It's valuable, and I only get one. Only get one. And so that it really left me with inspiration to not even that, even though we sort of hit on self-care, but just to love me more. So that's what I got out of it, and that I'm not the only woman that goes through things, that deals with stuff. Like, we all have our own problems, but we're not alone. And everything that we deal with. So it was wonderful.
As the event planner, it was a great success. God worked in me being spiritual. I know God was in that. The devil thought he had. Minister Vonda's, he thought he had a plan, but it was God's plan at the end of the day, that persevered. And teamwork. Teamwork is one thing that I do see. I saw Black women working together, which was it's just always a great thing to see. And with Minister Vonda empowering women, not only women, but men as well, just the teamwork and how God works. You left there just full. And that's what I got out of it.
Absolutely. Sister Jeanette, what did you get out of that?
God is in control. No matter how you plan something out, it's under God. If he wants to change the program, he will. And because he changed the program, everybody left different, and they're still talking about that event, how wonderful it was. And I still feel the warmth, and that's something she did, Minister Vonda. She did that she didn't have to do, but out of the kindness, and she's such a godly person and full of the Spirit. She did get a refund from this, as the prophet said, but she also refunded the people. And many people wouldn't have done that. They would have been greedy and take the money. But she was more involved in feeding the people, not so much of taking the money. And
so, as far as taking the money, what exactly do you mean by that for those of us who don't know?
We had to pay for the event. She gave the people what they needed. She gave them food, and she gave them a beautiful program. She didn't have to refund the people. But because she was refunded, she blessed the people and gave them their money back.
So,
I'd like to say something real quick, because a lot of times with events, people really don't understand what it takes. Just because you're paying for a ticket, it's a lot more that goes into an event. And just because you have a certain amount that you pay, it always costs more
More.
than what you pay.
Exactly.
That's correct. That is correct.
Yeah, and then a lot of people, you know, you're gonna have some of them. He say you're gonna get your money back. They figure that, yeah, but I, you know, no, you really didn't have to. But was the godly person that's in her that she did it. She gave it back to them, and that was beautiful. But again, God is in control.
Absolutely. Sister Michelle, what is your summary on that event that day?
It's a growing feeling or growing sentiment, should I say. I love the teamwork aspect of it. I love the safe space of it because there were women and men that felt comfortable to express what is going on. And these days, everybody wears masks. They cover up what it is, and next thing you know, they've committed suicide or they've gone to a hospital because of some stress-related, illness. So to have that safe space, to know that, and then seeing people, because I went to the last event, the Galentine's event, and I saw ladies and we talked and like old friends. And I had that was the first time I met them at the Galentine's in February. And so this event 5 months later, it was just a catch up, how you doing, and exchange numbers, and you building a support, a community, a base of somebody, Lord, I can call, and just say, I need help or I need support, I need prayer, whatever it is. And I just also felt really good about the men being able to feel safe and speak and share. And that was just a beautiful thing because brothers are always taught, don't cry, don't say your feelings, don't do this, don't do that, da da da. But now we know it's good to do, and they have that release, and they have that, it's just so many things that went right. And they went wrong, but then they went right. And the prophecy of that brother lets you know there are godly people, because he didn't know Minister Vonda prior to, and he didn't know anything about her event. It was nothing but God, and it was meant to be. So, people say, I don't know if God's real. He ain't done it. He's real. He is real.
Yeah, he is.
He wake me up every morning, put me in bed at night, let me see another day. Amen. Hallelujah.
Michelle, I want to ask you, you were saying that some men spoke. So was there a point at the event where men were able to speak?
Yes, toward the end, it was just, an open question. Anybody have anything to say? And they felt comfortable enough to say. People that weren't even, they were there maybe as support or backup, whatever
It was
the
the
case may be.
speakers. The speaker was outstanding.
Yes.
The who was chosen to speak. Each one of them had their different personality, so it made everybody comfortable with. Each one of them were good. You can't usually could say, "Oh, so and so was better than that." Oh, she was boring. No. I've been to many, but each speaker was dynamite. They were good.
They were
It was
awesome.
good.
And Dr. Rhonda let us know men have andropause. That is menopause for men. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so many enlightening experiences. Yeah. And even just to bring out for those who didn't attend, the speakers that were there, we had Dr. Rhonda Harden, who spoke on, what was your subject?
Menopause and life balance.
And then we had Tony Lewis, who spoke on, what was your?
Fitness and nutrition.
Okay, and then we had Minister Vonda. Who were the other speakers?
I spoke on dealing with your soul.
Okay, and then we had also the therapist,
Mental health.
Miracle, who spoke on mental health as well, and we had the
Christina
massage
Nolan, who actually
therapist.
spoke about the benefits of massage.
Christina Nolan, yes. So
Body work.
a lot of different areas that they talked about and topics. So Tony Lewis, what did you get out of that event for the mind?
Oh my gosh, so many things, but I will say the first thing was the unity, was just working together. And there were people there that I knew, there were some people I had never seen before. That didn't matter. We all came together when we realized that we had some obstacles. And then the second was really creating a safe space with the emphasis on total wellness. It's not just one, but spiritual, mental, and physical, and dealing with all that. Because a lot of times I feel like too, within the body of Christ, we have one area down, but we're struggling. And so to really put that emphasis, because the Word of God tells us we're supposed to prosper in every area of our life. And so for us to be healthy mentally, physically, and spiritually, and that is what this day was about. So that was the big takeaway for me.
Wonderful. So Brother Robert, what did you get out of that? Could you summarize what you felt that day?
I personally seen and experienced the move of God on every level, on every platform of people speaking, working. I seen God in it. That's what I got. I seen God and witnessed it, felt it, and seen the work of God. And I was just, I'm more grateful than thankful that I seen it and I understood it. Because a lot of times, I'll speak for myself, we want to see God, hear God, the Big Bang Theory. But God is in the subtle and the little bitty things. And I thank God for allowing me to see that, especially at Mrs. Vonda's event. And it was just wonderful to see how she carries her flag well. And it was wonderful to see that. Every woman there that was participating in it, I applaud them all. So I got something out of everyone, including the sister that spoke about addictions and alcoholism.
Okay,
'Cause
yes.
everyone in someone's household suffers with some type of addiction, be it drugs and alcohol. And she had a powerful story as well. So it was a well-rounded event. Thank you again, Ms. Vonda.
Dr. Vonda, what would your summary be?
So for me, it was definitely a collaborative team effort. And I appreciated all of the speakers as well because we complemented each other.
Yeah.
We've never met each other. This was the very first time we had this opportunity. And we just gelled as if we sat down and planned it out ourselves. So it just flowed. And I really know that, we always try to come in with how we want to do things, but God has the last say. And I think at the end that it worked out for all of our good. I felt this benefited everyone that was in attendance. And then I would like to personally thank Minister Vonda because she, brought this vision. And we kind of, went back and forth for a minute. And it's like, because I have a crazy schedule, as we all do. And finally, I said, Lord, I'm just going to say yes. And so thank you for that opportunity.
And notice that some were not too happy with certain body and skin imperfections. She began to study the benefits of non-invasion body sculpting solutions and found the CryoSkin device. Shortly after finding the beauty device and making proper training, she decided to change the name of her business to reflect her newfound knowledge. Just recently, she opened a massage studio in Hermosa Beach called the Hoyt. She'll tell y'all. Body contouring, where she offers various massage techniques and body contouring services. Please join us in welcoming Christina Nolan. Therapy, as you guys all know, it has the ability to relax and alleviate muscle tension. Massage techniques facilitate therapy plays a significant role in promoting mental and emotional well-being. Modern life often leads us to high levels of stress and anxiety. Massage therapy provides a much-needed break or pause, if you will, by activating the body's relaxation responses and reducing the production of stress hormones. It can effectively alleviate symptoms of anxiety, depression, and overall psychological distress. An hour-long massage is about equivalent to about 7 to 8 hours of sleep for your body. Now, I've been doing this for a minute now, for about 20 years, and an hour's cool, but I would recommend a 90-minute. Book with me, 90-minute is the way to go. Because if 7 to 8 hours is 1 hour gives you 7 to 8. 90-minute can get you at least 9. At least 9. Okay, so another fun fact, there are around 75 common massage modalities used today. So if you thought massage was all the same, think again. There's over 350 different modalities in massage therapy, and 75 of them are commonly used. Depending on the ailment, the massage therapist can choose from any different types of body work to treat the clients. Now, I've looked around the room, I've sat with one of my clients. One of my clients invited me here. I'm sure I have future clients, okay?
The brand that I use is called Amazing Herbs, and it's I actually get it from Amazon simply because it's cheaper. It's like $25 for a bottle of 60, whereas if you go to the vitamin shop or GNC, it's going to be $50. But it's just, I can show you, I'll show you, I can pull it up on my phone and show you what it looks like, but it's the best brand that I have found. I've been using that one for about 7 years, and all it is, like I said, it's just oil from the cumin seed, and it's just cold pressed. I used to actually drink the actual oil. I couldn't do it. It tastes like gasoline.
So that's why it's important to be aware of the symptoms, because stress, it can kind of just creep up on you, and that's what makes it dangerous. Oftentimes we may get used to it, or we're just kind of used to being stressed, so it kind of starts to feel familiar or it feels normal, and so you don't even notice that it's affecting you until it's too late. Or for example, you go to a doctor, and the doctor's like, hey, what's been going on? You've been feeling stressed. And you're like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I have. So you can switch therapists at any point in time. The best way would be to have that conversation with her and let her know, you know what, this isn't working for me, and then let her know why, and then you're able to switch to the therapist. There's no negative impact. So don't feel obligated. If it's not working, it's like a relationship. If it's not working,
my name is Bridget, and I am a sobriety coach. I struggled with addiction and alcoholism for 20 years. Listen, I haven't been to jail. I haven't been towed up 2 or 3 cars. I've had DUIs. I just really made a mockery of my life this first, I'm 51, and so I didn't start getting sober until I was 42. So you can imagine those years. I grew up in the church, pastor's kid. I'm from Central California, Fresno area. I'm the Cotton's daughter, Jonathan and Michelle Cotton's daughter. Right now I believe my mother is the director of nursing at the City of Refuge. She just announced her name. But your children have issues, and I was one of those issues. I was a child of the church. I grew up church 7 days a week on every pew I sat in. My grandfather was the pastor. I know what it looks like, but I also know what it looks like when you go home. That's such a lie from the pits of hell, because that's how you know you're a child of God, because you struggle. Right. And so your struggle is to be able to tell other people about your struggle. So for me, my ministry and my work has been, I don't hide it. Listen, I drank, and probably would drink now if I didn't know the consequences of my actions. I can't drink. I'm not one that I can only drink on Monday. Or I can only go out and have a glass. Listen, I'm finna have a party. I'm finna do the 5th. Right? And then I'm going to get in the car and drive. And so I might hurt somebody. So I did. I've been in jail. I've been strapped down and handcuffed and rode from Fresno, stopped in every prison from Fresno to LA, ended up in downtown LA. I got booked into the big prison.
That will put you in early menopause. It can last anywhere between 7 to 14 years. I'm sorry. And some people may not even have any symptoms, and God bless those who didn't, because I have been sweating, and you guys will see, which I am gifting you with. I always have this handy, okay? Because I always feel the moment, because your hot flashes come when you least expect it, right? So you always want to be prepared. So that's the main transition that we see, is the hot flashes. And it also affects our sleep, because we start getting insomnia. I find when I get ready to go to bed at night, I feel entering to yes, called perimenopausal or perimenopause. So usually, if your cycle starts changing, where you might go 3 months without a period, and then all of a sudden it comes back, or you're spotting here and there, that's the early stage of it. So when you are finally in the menopausal stage, where you won't have a cycle at all, but you still have, still there's some estrogen still in your body, but as time goes on, then it's lessening, then you'll go into that menopause stage. So that can be, it can take a couple of years, right? Because it starts around 45 as an average to 55, but some people can be earlier, but it's an average.
To the hormone therapy that they try to push us on. That hormone
because
therapy.
It is a synthetic, estrogen, and I always try to do things the natural way. Even though I'm a nurse, I'm not the first person that will push a pill on you, right? And so you have to understand the benefits versus the risk. And we all know with hormone replacement, sometimes we have that risk of cancer, right? So you have to really just talk with your physician and, let them know how you feel about it and just say, will it be really worth it for you
Right.
to go that route? But it definitely is an option. But if you can do things the natural way, to kind of keep the estrogen in the system,
Right.
it can at least level you off a little bit.
My final words, or my words would be one of my favorite scriptures, which is, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praises shall continuously be in my mouth. Prayer is what I do. Battle is what I do. And I've been doing it for a long time. It's a family trait. It's a mantle that was passed over from my grandmother, the great late Mother Estella Boyd out of Detroit, Michigan, who set up her actual ministry back in the 1940s. I've come from a family of warriors. My grandmother, Virginia McClatchy, was also a warrior. She was a fighter. They used to call her Annie Oakley. She toted a shotgun. So I shoot from all levels, if you might say. My best friend likes to say, Vonda shoots from the hip, always. But I always shoot in love. So with that being said, this particular event, it was not the first event. I know a lot of people say it's our first event. It was not our first event. This is our first event in public. We've had many events where we have never had one to this magnitude. So this was our first, and this is the first annual Mind, Body, Soul event. It will now be coming back every year and hopefully getting bigger and better as we go. We will also be doing a series on the YouTube or the video, and also these video and social platforms where we'll be going forth and talking about various events. Vonda Ministries is definitely on the move. It has taken off from the station. God allows certain things, and I have to bring a point too. The day of the event, when these things begin to go wrong, that night before, I got extremely sick, and I couldn't walk that morning. I was sick to my stomach, not from a standpoint that my legs didn't work. I was just deathly ill, and it came out of nowhere. And that morning it happened, and then it turned around. It eased up, and as we got closer to the time where I was supposed to leave and stay in the hotel, it came back with a fierceness to where I was at home, and I actually thought that I was actually going to die. And God said, not so. He said, you're going to be fine. Now, crawl to the kitchen. No. And he told me exactly what to take. That's why I said, if you listen to God, he will give you instructions all the way. So that's why you have to trust in the Lord with all your heart. And lean not to your own understanding, because all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your, let me help you understand that scripture, paths. There is an S at the end. Not your path, but your paths. Okay? So he had directed my paths that day, and he actually told me to take a probiotic. And as soon as that probiotic hit my system, I stood straight up. And I said, okay. He said, now, the next thing you are going to do is go to your prayer room. And I said, I don't have time. He said, you always got time. He said, I want you to go in your prayer room, and I want you to kneel down and pray. So I did exactly what he said. I prayed in my prayer room, and I was like, okay, we good. I'm on my way out, and God said, now sit and rest a while. And I said, why am I resting? I do not have this kind of time. He said, sit down and worship. Worship me in spirit and in truth. Now, I had no idea that he was moving something behind the scene. So I sat there, and he said, sit here until I release you. And that release didn't come for 15 minutes. And I got up and I went to the hotel. And then I did whatever I had to do. Now, we had no idea that he was moving and creating things and blocking stuff and fighting stuff in the background, because the prayer was sending out a war cry. It was sending out a war cry into the atmosphere. And he said, I've got this, Vonda. Just rest in my arms. So we got there, we didn't know. All these things went forward. And then as we begin to move, he said, now go home in the morning and do your hair and your makeup. Now, I would never have been able to do this at the hotel had that call came in. He strategically placed me in a place and took me back home, because he knew that space that I'm in right now has already been warred over. His spirit abides in this place. So I sat here, I did my hair, I did my makeup, I went back to the hotel, I talked to Cherie, I know exactly what time she left. So the real story here is have faith in God. Pray before you do anything. Talk to him first. Get his direction. Let him guide you always. He put me on the 17th floor of the hotel on a street called Church Lane. This was not a coincidence. He allowed our rooms to be on the 7th and the 8th floor of the hotel. On the 7th and the 8th floor of the hotel. When this thing transpired and I got the news, I sat back and I laughed, and I didn't even remember what the prophet said at first. I just kept moving. I did what I was supposed to do. And he said, now every time you move and you deal with somebody today, what I want you to do is touch them. He just kept telling me, touch them. Hug them, embrace them, touch them. I had to deal with the staff of the hotel, which required a level of calm that I didn't even know I had. But he just kept saying, touch them. Every person you come in contact, from the bus boy to the management, to the top management, to the people in the lobby, to friends, to family, to those you don't know, just keep touching them. I don't care what transpires. I don't care who you're going to talk to. Touch them. And when I realized he was making contact with the people. He was allowing his spirit to impart and transfer to the people that were there. And I didn't know that at first until he let me see what he was doing. And he allowed that system to calm down, to even the management had to take note that surely God is in this place. He has rested, ruled, and abide. And this now, Angelina Hotel that's sitting on Church Street has become a church today, because he has got control of the building. So with that being said, we will bless the Lord at all time yet again. Yes. I called my attorney at one point to see what we needed to do, and I told him what had transpired. I told him what I had done. He asked me a series of questions, and he said to me, Kenneth Jones, I'll never forget, he said, Vonda, it looks to me like you got this handled. Call me if you need me. And I never had to place another call, because God worked it out from there. And whatever happened from there, God said, I am in total control. So Vonda Dennis Ministries is under the total control of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. And that's the end of the story.